Hello and welcome to Podcast I Tell You. In this podcast, we will travel back to one of the most famous moments in human history, the first moon landing in 1969. On July 20, 1969, millions of people around the world gathered around their televisions and radios. They waited breathlessly as three astronauts, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin and Michael Collins, made their way to the moon. What happened during those days became not only a technological triumph but also a symbol of what humanity can achieve when science, courage and determination come together. To understand the moon landing, we first need to understand the context of the 1960s. The United States and the Soviet Union were in the middle of the Cold War, competing not only in politics and military strength but also in science and technology. This competition was called the space race. In 1961, U.S. President John F. Kennedy made a bold promise at Rice University.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
This challenge inspired a generation and turned the Apollo program into a national mission. Achieving Kennedy's dream was not easy. Computers of the 1960s were far weaker than today's smartphones, and rocket technology was still experimental. The Apollo program required more than 400,000 people: scientists, engineers, and factory workers. It also suffered tragedy. In 1967, the Apollo 1 fire killed 3 astronauts during a ground test. Many questioned if the program should continue. But NASA redesigned the spacecraft and pressed forward. Apollo 11's crew were 3 men. Neil Armstrong, commander, a calm and precise pilot. Buzz Aldrin, lunar module pilot, intelligent and outspoken. Michael Collins, command module pilot, thoughtful and witty. Collins later described his feelings orbiting the moon alone. "I am alone now, truly alone, and absolutely isolated from any known life. I am it." If a count were taken, the score would be 3 billion plus 2 on the other side of the moon, and 1 plus God knows what on this side. On July 16, 1969, Apollo 11 lifted off from Kennedy Space Center on a Saturn V rocket. The giant machine, taller than a 30-story building, carried them toward the moon. Thousands watched from Florida beaches. As the rocket thundered into the sky, it symbolized both human progress and human risk. After 3 days in space, Apollo 11 entered lunar orbit on July 19. Armstrong and Aldrin entered the lunar module Eagle, while Collins remained in Columbia. As Eagle descended, computer alarms sounded, forcing Armstrong to take manual control. With fuel almost gone, he found a safe spot and landed. His calm words reached Earth.
"We copy you down, Eagle."
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
At Mission Control in Houston, cheers filled the room. Humanity had touched another world. On July 21, Armstrong climbed down the ladder. At 2:56 Universal Time Coordinated, he placed his left foot onto lunar soil and spoke the most famous words of the 20th century. "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Buzz Aldrin followed him and looked around. Beautiful view. Magnificent desolation. Together they planted the American flag, conducted experiments and collected samples. They also left a plaque on the lunar module. Here men from the planet Earth first set foot upon the moon, July 1969 AD. We came in peace for all mankind. Around 600 million people, 1/5 of humanity, watched live. From small villages to crowded cities, people stayed awake through the night. Even U.S. President Richard Nixon spoke to the astronauts from the White House. "Because of what you have done, the heavens have become a part of man's world. As you talk to us from the Sea of Tranquility, It inspires us to redouble our efforts to bring peace and tranquility to Earth. For a moment, the Cold War rivalry faded. This was not just an American victory, it was a human victory. After 21 hours on the Moon, Armstrong and Aldrin rejoined Collins in lunar orbit. On July 24, Apollo 11 splashed down in the Pacific Ocean and the crew was recovered by the U.S. Navy. They were placed in quarantine for 3 weeks, just in case of moon germs, though none were ever found. Apollo 11 proved that humans could travel to another world and return safely. Armstrong's line, "One giant leap for mankind," became a symbol of human progress. Buzz Aldrin's words, "Magnificent desolation," remind us that exploration is both beautiful and lonely. Michael Collins's reflections remind us of human solitude in space. John F. Kennedy's challenge reminds us of the power of vision. Richard Nixon's call shows how one achievement can unite humanity even briefly. Together, these voices created the story of Apollo 11. More than 50 years later, the moon landing continues to inspire. New missions plan to return humans to the moon, and even to send astronauts to Mars. The Apollo 11 story is more than history, it is a lesson in courage, imagination, and cooperation. Thank you for listening to this journey through time. The story of the moon landing reminds us that the sky is not the limit, it is only the beginning.